Hello everyone, welcome to HIM 225. This is a continuation of the lectures for Chapter 15 in your textbook. If you would please turn to page 334. And we're going to start with these two examples on the top of the page. In the first one, this patient was admitted with acute chest pain due to pneumonia. And the code that we have here, J18.9, is actually the default code for pneumonia. We only assign the code for the pneumonia because acute chest pain is integral to pneumonia. So we are not adding a code for that. The patient is not being admitted for the acute chest pain. They're really not going to be treated for the acute chest pain. It is a sign and symptom that they're being admitted with, and the pneumonia is the principal diagnosis code, and that's the only code that we need here. In the next example, the patient is admitted for acute pain control after falling off a ladder and suffering 2 broken ribs on the right side. She was admitted for pain control. So in this example, we actually know that the reason she was admitted was for the pain. And we have the pain is acute. So in the index, we're putting pain acute due to trauma, G89.11. And so that's our principal diagnosis code. Then what happened to her? She's having this pain because she had 2 broken ribs on the right side. Well, a broken bone is a fracture. And when we look up fractures, we have to spell them right. And this is actually a traumatic fracture. When we put in fracture, we have to determine whether or not it's what kind of fracture it is. And when we looked at fracture here, we have non-traumatic. Well, ours is traumatic. Then pathological. No, we don't have a pathological fracture. What we have is a traumatic fracture. And so this is a traumatic fracture of the ribs. And we have some specific subterms. This was not a flail chest. This was multiple fractures, but there's no flail chest. So we're going to go to S22.4, and we know there's a dash behind here. We have to verify it in the tabular. Even without the dash, we would verify it in the tabular. And so we can see that we have a red code here. We need to click on that code, and multiple fractures, ribs, right side, initial encounter for closed fracture. And this was a closed fracture. It was on the right side. It is the initial encounter. So our code is S22.41XA. If we had come down from S22.4, we would have seen S22.41. And of course, if we click on that, then we're also going to see our code right here. Now, the other thing is that this patient fell off a ladder. And there's a W code here. That is an external cause code. If I go to external cause, what I'm looking up is the fact that this patient fell. That is the external cause that caused this. And if we look up fall, we can see down, and then we can see ladder, W11. Let me see if I put in fall and then nope, I can't just put in fall and ladder. She fell from a ladder. W11, again, verify it in the tabular. Now, I want you to notice that this says that we have to have the appropriate 7th character. Well, this is W11, and we can't just put W11.A. We have to actually fill in the remaining characters, the fourth, fifth, and sixth characters with X's. So our code will be W11.XXXA. And that's how we got the codes for that particular example. Now, the next series of guidelines are whether or not basically this is things where or pain management for a reason or the condition, it can be considered diagnosis as the underlying cause of the illness reported as an ambitious diagnosis. For the patient admitted to the hospital with acute the patient had a vasectomy yesterday, and the physician documents post-procedural pain. So you see them in the external cause tab. I have to remember to click back to the diagnosis tab. And I am guilty all the time of just jumping in here and not checking what tab I'm in. And then it'll hit me as soon as I look at the codes that I'm in the wrong tab. So click on diagnosis. And my internet is being just a tiny bit slow. And I'm going to put in pain, acute, and post-procedural, G89.18. I'm going to click on that code, verify it in the tabular. It's a good code. No notes that really apply to it. I've looked at these notes. And then this is testicular pain. So I'm going to try pain again. And there is pain, there is testes, N50.81. So I've got to verify it in the tabular, and it's in the testicular pain section. And we don't know which testicle it was because this is either right, left, or unspecified. So we have to choose unspecified. N50.819. And the next guideline tells us that if a patient is admitted for insertion of a neuro stimulator for pain control, we're going to assign an appropriate code as the principal diagnosis. When an admission is for a procedure aimed at treating the underlying condition, and a neuro stimulator is inserted for pain control during the same admission, a code for the underlying condition will be sequenced as the principal diagnosis, and then you will have an appropriate pain code as a secondary diagnosis. So again, while the patient has pain and they're putting a neurostimulator in for pain control, the condition stated in the admission is whatever is causing the pain. So they're not being admitted for pain control per se, they're being admitted for a procedure whose goal is to try to control their pain. Intractable pain secondary to lumbar stenosis. She's admitted for insertion of a neuromuscular neurostimulator for pain. The generator is inserted into the back pocket and the leads are inserted in the spine now via percutaneous approach. So in this example, we have a patient who insertion of the neurostimulator. So based on that guideline, the code of pain is and this patient has chronic intractable pain. So, and it's chronic intractable pain. is due to lumbar spinal stenosis. So when we look at our options under pain and chronic, it's not post-procedural, it's not post-thoracotomy, it's not related to neoplasm or trauma. It's just chronic pain. So it is appropriate to assign this code G89.29 as the principal. Now she also has lumbar spinal stenosis. That's what's causing the pain. And so let's apply a code for that. So in the index, we go to stenosis and then spinal, and we find lumbar region. And the code in the index is M48.061. We verify that in the tabular. The code in your book is missing that sixth character. So it is M48.061. Then we have to code the procedures for this. And it is a pulse generator that's inserted into the back pocket, and there are also leads that go into the spinal cord. And you do have to code the leads in addition to coding the actual insertion of the neurostimulator. So in the procedure index, we go to insertion. And when you look at insertion, you have to pick insertion of device in. And this device is going into the subcutaneous tissue on this patient's back. It's a pocket that they create. And so if we look at subcutaneous tissue and then back, it takes us to table 0JH7. And then we are going to code the approach. It was not percutaneous. It was not documented as percutaneous. It was documented as open. And this is a stimulator generator single array. That would be very clearly documented for you in the actual procedure note. And then there is no qualifier. So this is the code that we need for the actual creation of the insertion of that stimulator into the back pocket. Then we also have to code the insertion of the leads. So when we're in the index, we're going to insertion of device in spinal canal, because you can see that it says that the leads are inserted into the spinal canal via a percutaneous approach. So we spinal canal, we go to the table 00HU. The approach is percutaneous, so we choose percutaneous, not percutaneous endoscopic. Then we choose percutaneous, was not endoscopic. It did not say that. No. My internet is a little bit slow, and so it is sometimes not responding for me. And then it's a neurostimulator lead, and there is no qualifier. So 00HU3MZ would be the code for that procedure. Your question for this lecture is to go to and there are 3 codes for question number 11. You have a pain code, a site code, and a neoplasm code. So those 3 codes. Now, looking at the you can assign codes from category we have a patient submitted with acute back pain after being rear-ended by a car while driving her children to school in her car. So uh, in this example, we're going to code the back pain M54.9. We also are going to code the fact that she has acute pain from trauma, G8911. And then she was rear-ended by a car. That's an external cause code. So again, we're going to go to external cause, and we can go to accident, let me see, motor vehicle. And this was a traffic collision. And when you start looking at these codes, there are a million of them. Okay, so to find this code for the driver of a car involved in an accident, in the index, you have to go to accident. And then, do you see right here it says car? It says see accident, transport, car, occupant. Well, we had a car driver. So I'm going to put accident, transport, car, driver. So then I can get to the down to the V codes. And I can see car, and I can see V43.52. Well, I know I have to verify it in the tabular, and I get over here. There is the code. I need to click on this red code, and this is an initial encounter, so it's V43.52XA. The next guideline also talks about G89 codes with site-specific codes. Now, basically, this tells you if you have an encounter for pain management, you can assign the code from category G89 followed by the code for the specific site of the pain. Um, and the example they have is acute pain due to trauma, followed by the code M54.2, neuralgia, for this example that they gave, pain management for acute neck pain from trauma. So basically, with those codes, we're looking at the reason for the admission. And then at the top of page 335, it tells you if the encounter is for any other reason except pain control or management, and a related definitive diagnosis has not been established by the provider, then you can assign the code for the specific site of the pain first, followed by a code from category G89. So in the example, the patient comes to ER, they have acute chest pain when they were kicked in the chest by a horse. So R07 is the code for chest pain. G8911 we know is the code for acute pain due to trauma. W55.12, again, that's in an external cause code for somebody who was kicked by a horse. So let's see if we can find that. So I'm going to do accident and then kicked. And because my internet is slow, sometimes it just is not picking up. Hold on. Okay, so if in this external cause index, if we just go to kicked by animal, NEC W55.82, there I must, animal, NEC, your book has if we get to this category, you can see that we have other codes for being struck by, okay, and if we look at, we have struck by horse, W55.12, and then we'll have an XA for initial encounter. Okay, so let's just if we go to struck, I was going to see if we could find that code more specifically. All right, you'll notice that in the tabular, this category, this subcategory is contact with horse. So in the index, to find this code of W55.12XA, you have to go to contact with horse. So you can't find it under accident, you can't find it under kick, you can't find it under struck. You have to specifically know to look for contact with horse. And you'll find we'll have a chapter on external cause codes towards the end of the semester. And basically, you just have to play around with those things many times to find the code. And your facility may not require their use either. That's going to conclude this lecture for chapter 15. You will have one more lecture.